Welcome to Key Talking Points.
The podcast that makes learning effortless.
No fluff, no jargon, just clear, engaging explanations.
We break down complex topics so you don't have to.
Let's get straight to the point.
Visit keytalkingpoints.com for more. All right, so let's dive straight in. The Big Four, Deloitte, EY, KPMG, and PwC, are like the titans of the accounting world, right?
Oh, absolutely. If you're thinking of professional services, audit, tax, consulting, they're the heavyweights, aren't they? These firms dominate globally. I mean, they touch everything from Fortune 500 companies to critical financial regulations.
Right. But what's fascinating is they weren't always just the Big Four, were they? Back in the day, we had the Big Eight. 8 separate firms that eventually merged over decades into what we know now. It's quite a fascinating bit of history, actually.
It is. So originally, these firms started expanding globally in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. By the 1980s, they were known as the Big Eight. But mergers, big ones with names consolidating, brought that number down. And by the 90s, they'd consolidated into the Big Six.
And then things really shifted, didn't they, after the Enron scandal? That's when Arthur Andersen collapsed in 2002 and bam! We were left with the Big Four we know today.
Yeah, that was a pivotal moment. If you think back, Andersen was actually a respected giant once, until it fell from grace for its involvement in the Enron scandal. Its clients scattered off to the remaining big players, and that single event truly reshaped the industry.
It's wild to think about, isn't it? Oh, and it totally reminds me of my first run-in with the Big Four. Picture this, a university career fair. There they were, huge banners, glossy brochures. It felt like everyone there wanted to land an interview with one of these firms. Like it was the holy grail of accounting careers.
Oh, I can picture that. They've always had that sort of allure, haven't they? Their image as the ultimate career launchpad in financial services. I remember hearing students say, if you work for one of the Big Four, you've made it. There's a sort of inevitability about their dominance.
Exactly. And that dominance isn't just hypothetical. It's backed by numbers, as we're about to see. Speaking of dominance, it's not just a perception. It's a reality. The Big Four don't just shine globally. They practically have a chokehold on the audit industry in the UK. Get this. They handle 99% of the audits for FTSE 100 companies and 96% for FTSE 250 companies, according to 2011 stats. I mean, that's almost complete control.
It's staggering, isn't it? Such dominance inevitably raises questions about competition. It's like, how can anyone else even enter the game? Smaller firms just can't break through that kind of industry stronghold.
Exactly. And it's not just an idle concern either. The UK's Competition Markets Authority, or CMA, actually launched an in-depth investigation back in 2018. They were worried about what this sort of monopoly means for fairness and, well, accountability.
Right. The CMA wanted to know if such market concentration, basically the Big Four gobbling up nearly all of the audit business, was preventing innovation or driving up costs. And it wasn't all talk. By 2020, the Financial Reporting Council, or FRC, asked these firms to outline plans for splitting their audit and consultancy services by 2024.
Yeah, which honestly makes sense. If your firm is auditing accounts while also giving consultancy advice, it's kind of like marking your own homework, isn't it? There's such a potential for conflicts of interest there.
Absolutely. And while we're talking about structural changes, did you know KPMG actually switched its legal status in 2020? It went from being a Swiss verein, basically an association, to a UK limited company. That's a pretty significant move, showing how they flex to meet regulatory demands.
Oh, I didn't know that. But it makes sense, doesn't it? These firms are titans at adapting to survive. It's like they shapeshift to fit whatever keeps them on top, no matter the scrutiny.
Exactly. It's this adaptability, this ability to morph with changing rules, that's helped them fend off much of the competition over time. But of course, with this kind of dominance comes, well, controversy.
Speaking of their ability to adapt and morph with the times, It's impossible not to address the controversies that come with their dominance. Let's dig into those cracks in the facade, shall we?
No, and it's quite a list. Let's start with KPMG's role in the Carillion collapse. They were accused of signing off on what were called fantastical figures, just months before the company went under. That's no small matter when you consider the ripple effects on jobs and pensions.
Exactly. And Deloitte wasn't spared either. You might remember they faced a hefty fine, $15 million, for their involvement in the autonomy audits. The allegations? A failure to show professional skepticism in key financial reviews.
Right, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. The PCAOB, which oversees audits in the US, found that the Big Four collectively failed in 31% of their inspections over a decade. That's nearly a third of cases.
Oh, wow, that's terrible. I mean, it makes you wonder, how do clients and regulators just keep letting these firms operate with so much trust?
Good question. And let's not forget the allegations of multinational tax avoidance. One expert estimated these schemes cost taxpayers around $1 trillion annually. It's not a great look when these firms are advising clients on tax strategies while also consulting with governments on tax reform.
It's such a tangled web, isn't it? Conflicts of interest, poor audit quality, and now a growing call to restructure, or even break them up entirely. Would that actually work, though?
Well, opinions are mixed. On the one hand, splitting their audit and consultancy services, like what's mandated in the UK by 2024, might help restore trust. But on the other hand, it could pose new challenges. Smaller firms might find opportunities there, sure. But would they be able to scale fast enough to compete?
Exactly. And then there's the question of whether these proposed changes will actually improve outcomes for clients or just shuffle the deck a bit. But whatever happens next, one thing's clear. Change is coming for the Big Four.
And it'll be fascinating to see how they adapt, just like they've always done. These controversies might shake their dominance, but hey, history shows their resilience time and time again.
Absolutely. Well, that's all we've got for today. It's been great unpacking this topic. Hopefully, we've given everyone a lot to think about.
Definitely. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Until next time.